Commissioner O'Neill. Next, we have the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. Commissioner Nelson, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Crone. The first item we have before us is a proposal to schedule public hearings on the draft Cloquet Valley Forest ATV Management Plan, and I would look for someone to move that.
I'll move it, sir.
Moved by Commissioner Fink. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Forsman. Discussion? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and state your name for the record and sign up if you haven't already.
Sure. I'm Kristen Larson, and I'm from Pequon. And the League of Women Voters in Duluth, the Isaac Walton League, the Friends of the Cloquet Valley State Forest, the Friends of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, myself, and many others have requested, and I ask you again, to consider requesting the DNR to designate the Cloquet Valley State Forest Limited with regard to OHVs and send the plan for the forest OHV plan back to the committee to be reworked as a limited plan. Under the limited plan, trails are signed and OHVs are allowed on all designated trails only, and they must stay on the signed trail. Enforcement is simple and it is less expensive. In the managed system, all trails in the forest are open. New trails can be made, as many of the existing trails have been, illegally, and as soon as someone has driven on them, the next person that comes along is on a legal trail. Enforcement is very difficult in this situation. It creates an unfunded mandate for maintenance and enforcement for the county. Mr. Krebs has stated this. He stated, Bob Krebs is the county land manager, and he said it's kind of an unfunded mandate from our standpoint, and to some degree we're concerned about proliferation of additional trails. Captain Soring stated, and he's the captain of DNR enforcement, that officers must prove intent. So if they find someone off of the trail, they have to prove the person's specific intent with regard to, why am I not on a trail? Oops, I didn't know. It's very hard out in the forest, even with a GPS. It's not something that a law enforcement officer can do. A volunteer is not going to be able to enforce in that situation. Please take care not to bring us an unfunded mandate, bringing us a responsibility without the dollars to back it up is going to be difficult in terms of maintaining the undesignated trails. We recommend that the DNR OHV committee rework the plan as a limited forest and include a site for review, and would include a site for review by the public in the Pequon-Brimson area. I know that last time we talked, you decided not to include that, and the reason that it wasn't well attended initially was that the advertisement came out very quickly before the meeting was held. And as you know, there is significant interest in the issue in the Pequon and Brimson area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else, any other citizens wish to speak to this item? If not, is there any further discussion? Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Crone. Just wanted to take a moment to remind not only the board but the public as well that following closely on the heels of this will be the plan for the Sturgeon River. And within the Sturgeon River, which has already been presented to this board and received preliminary approval by this board, is a little different scenario in that they are going to manage part of the Sturgeon River forest where it's appropriate. They are going to have limited access in parts of the Sturgeon River forest where it's appropriate. And the DNR has actually closed, is proposing to close a portion of the Sturgeon River forest to motorized access, period. the DNR has taken a very responsible approach to this. And again, as board members, we've seen that Sturgeon River plan before us. I believe they're also taking a very responsible approach to the Cloquet Valley as well. And the one thing that does concern me, today we are taking formal action because we are asking the DNR to move forward with the managed scenario. And with that, I guess I would like to see the second whereas struck from this resolution, in that in the first whereas we are talking about the managed scenario, and today we are taking formal action. So I would ask for a friendly amendment to remove the second whereas, because today this board will be taking formal action. And I would ask that as a friendly.
Further discussion, maker of the motion?
Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners, I'm open to the debate about this particular piece of language. I think it's something that we need to continue to debate as we move forward. I certainly think Ms. Larson makes a point about how you do the best job at managing that you can. I don't necessarily agree with what the end result that she says, but I certainly agree that we ought to be very careful to make sure that we are in fact managing appropriately, whether or not these are limited trails or not limited trails. I'm reminded, however, that, and I'm going to support this friendly because the statute actually says that north of Highway 2, all trails will be opened unless designated closed. In below Highway 2, the language is exactly what Ms. Larson suggests, that all trails are closed unless designated opened. The statute language was defined like that because northern commissioners across the entire northern part of St. Louis, or of the state, actually find tourism and the use of ATVs as both farm equipment and recreation equipment, and we depend upon those people who bring their ATVs here. On Friday, I came back from the cities, and later I'll report on the AMC steering committee. Even then, with new snow on the ground, people were bringing their ATVs north as they prepare for summer. I got to tell you that we use this as a tourism issue, and I think that's the reason the language says that. So I'm going to include. I will accept the friendly, not because I think it's the right decision, but because the statute already says this is where we're going. And by the way, we did give not formal approval, but we gave preliminary approval so that we could get to the hearing process. And so I see that as being one and the same, that you give preliminary process. And I see Ms. Larson's comments that says, hey, wait a minute, do you change this after the public hearing? Maybe. And I agree with Commissioner Crone that we have not taken any formal action, but we did give preliminary approval so we could move forward. To not move forward at this particular point may take us the other 2 years, by the way, that it took to put the original plan together. Because remember, this wasn't in 2006 that we gave preliminary approval. This was in 2005. And there was a requirement of public meetings before we moved forward. So I will accept it, but I'm going to be anxious to see if there's a continued debate.
Thank you, Commissioner Fink. Commissioner Sweeney.
Well, I think if you read this, it says that the St. Louis County Board of Commissioners concur with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and St. Louis County Land Department's proposal to hold public hearings on a draft Cloquet Valley State Forest ATV OHV management plan. I think that we are concurring to move forward to a public hearing, much the same as we haven't approved a smoking ordinance. We have approved a draft to go to public hearing so that we can go and hear what the public has to say about this out there. And I'm not certain that that plan will remain the same. Maybe it will be more like the Sturgeon River. Maybe we will absolutely close some portions by the time they get through hearing what the public has to say. We will have some that are open and some that are at least, closed under under a management. I mean, we will have that, but maybe it will look different. Maybe one section of it will be managed, another section of it would be limited, so that we have more control over closure of some of these and perhaps them being open certain times of the year, those kinds of things. So I don't know that so we're not approving any plan right now. We are simply saying we concur that this is ready to move forward to a public hearing. Let's see what the public has to say about it out there. So I don't really believe that we have taken any formal action on limited or managed. Heaven forbid that we were. That would mean that our minds were closed and we were going to public hearing without any respect for what people might have to say at those public hearings. So I think that language definitely belongs in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweeney. Commissioner Forsman.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chair, is that it was accepted as a friendly by the maker, but it's not accepted as a friendly by the supporter, so you probably would want to get another support.
Thank you, Commissioner Forsman. Does anyone? Well, right now we have a friendly amendment accepted without a support, unless there is one. Is there one? If not, then if Commissioner Nelson wants to make that a amendment, standalone amendment, you could do that.
Actually, as a point of order, I believe that the entire motion is now no longer on the table. If there's not a supporter for Commissioner Finks.
Technically, that would be correct. So does someone wish to move the resolution the way it is?
Mr. Chair, I will move the resolution the way it is. I intended to move it in the first place.
Moved by Commissioner Fink. Is there support? Commissioner Forsman.
Yeah, as it appears in front of you.
Support by Commissioner Forsman. Any further discussion? Commissioner Forsman.
Mr. Chair, I do believe that second whereas is something that could very well stay in the motion. It works either way. I think that this board knows, probably the public even knows, because it's been said so many times by anybody that's put forward resolutions. The only thing that matters in the resolution, any resolution, is where it says, now therefore be it resolved, or resolved further. Everything in the whereases, it can say whatever it wants to say up there. It's for information's sake only. Nobody is disputing that second whereas is a fact. I haven't heard, even those people that would like to see that out of there have not disputed that is not a fact. I mean, if you want to put in there that my dog has fleas, it doesn't make any difference when it's in the whereas. And I think the public knows that. And when we get in wordsmithing and we can't, and we need to take and push and whatever in the whereas, somebody wants to change something in a resolve, you'll get my attention. You want to change something in the whereas, you'll never get my attention, because I don't give a damn what's in the whereas. I really don't, because it doesn't mean anything other than some facts that, may or may not be true. Doesn't make any difference. But everything up there, I shouldn't say it never gets my attention, but the cold hard fact is, everything that's up in the two whereases is a fact. Nobody's disputing that. So why not let it say? Why try to take and make some political statement when it isn't necessary?
Thank you, Commissioner Forsman. Any other discussion? And I just want to say I wouldn't have been able to support it. And I'm glad that Commissioner Forsman and others were willing to allow this second statement to stay in. And what we're simply doing is moving this to public hearings so that we can hear what the citizenry has to say. And we are indeed saying that, nothing is set in stone, and I think that's very important. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries, 1 nay. Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner Nelson, continue, please.
Thank you, Chair Commissioner Crone. We have 2 more items on my committee today. The second item is a reclassification